Sweet thing last night.
Oh, it's wedding anniversary.
It's been 4 years.
4 years. Wow. Doesn't seem like it was that long ago.
That took me a little bit, but I actually like this new setup. The tables here, not there.
Change. Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, Sam. On your anniversary.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's all right. Jake had to work in the rain, so
Oh,
it's real life.
there you go.
Birthdays.
Yeah.
I talked to Blake Gross.
Announced it on the news last night.
Yeah, it's a congratulations. If you don't, whichever, I guess he goes, well, it's 85% of one and 15 of the other, you decide which.
It'll be interesting to see who the assistant.
Yeah, that, well, he says he's talking about.
Probably will have somebody.
He's gonna get some of the.
Right?
Trying to be overwhelmed.
And
Good job.
I think he'll do fine.
Well, it's a guaranteed pay.
and make up.
If you get to become the tenth someday.
That's the career path, right?
It's a tradition.
Yeah.
It's just the opposite. South prosecutors are considered valuable. You get down south, like Alabama, Georgia, Florida. Yeah, up here, they're like, you can't do anything else. You become a prosecutor.
Yeah.
You can't be a defense
I'll
attorney.
tell you why he did it. It's really kind of fun.
I,
He opened his mouth. He had to put his money where
yeah, he'll-
Okay, it is 4:45 PM on Thursday, October 19th, 2023. I'm going to call this a special town board meeting. Town will appoint to order. I'll take a roll call. Mike Anderson,
here.
Amy Baxter,
Here.
Susan Brenna,
Here.
Samantha Dobson,
Here.
Glenn Carlson here. And we also have our town clerk, Alex Smith, our town administrator, Michael Kupta, and our department heads, as well as all of our department heads, most of our department heads, I guess, are here. So the first item on the agenda is public comment A. Does anyone have public comment? Hearing none, we'll move on to budget workshop. And the first department is the police department. And thank you, Bill, for being here.
Yep.
We've all read your narrative and gone through. We had received some revised pages last night. And we're just going to go around. If people have questions for you, and we'll start with Sue.
When you're talking about in your comments about having the two-man squads on the weekends in the summer, are you talking about having two patrol cars or two people in one squad car?
Oh,
So,
two people in two patrol cars is generally, but sometimes, like we've always done in the past, we've doubled up and gotten a car in one car once in a while.
okay,
Um,
and then a follow-up question on that question is, when you say summer, what time period are you looking at doing that for?
Memorial Day to Labor Day,
So the entire
the
summer,
entire summer, Fridays and Saturdays.
on Fridays and Saturdays. And will that limit coverage of other days or disrupt the hopeful 24/7?
That would only be if we could find part-time people to fill those spots.
Okay,
So your budget does not include two-man squads on the weekends in the
Not
summer,
necessarily. I mean, there is some part-time hours in there.
right?
That is mainly to try to help cover vacation days, 6 days, whatnot. If I can throw, if they're available to do a two-man squad, we absolutely want them for 4th of July weekends.
Mhm. Sure.
Sometimes just two guys is sometimes not enough for that week. So, that weekend for sure is, that pay period I've always done. Try to do two-man squads surrounding 4th of July.
so to clarify the answer to my question, then, the two-man squads are not part of the written budget.
Not necessarily, no.
Not necessarily, they are not.
For the part-time hours, you plug in where you can,
Okay,
and that would be part of the two-man squad, but they're also part of vacation. They're part of the other officers going to training, they're part of their training, they're part,
are they also part of overtime hours for the officers doing training?
what do you mean?
When you're talking about those are part of the part-time training times, is the officer like yourself or Tom or whomever doing the training, is that budgeted in?
I guess I don't understand, because when we do the training, when they go to training, say I'm at 30 hours of training, right? I'm only working 50 hours in that pay period, because I've already got 30 hours in that pay period for training.
For training the person?
Yeah,
Okay,
or are you talking about training somebody in the car?
that's, I'm talking about, you were speaking about that would be part of the training, so I'm
Well,
saying,
it's like when I'm away at training, somebody's gonna have to be in my.
okay, so it's not your training them, it's that you're
Yeah.
gone training, okay?
Yeah,
Amy?
I want to know about the tower. Why are we not on the Madeline Island?
we've never been on Metal.
Are the EMTs?
EMPs are on the Metal Tower, the fire department's on the Metal Tower. We use a completely different frequency. Our closest frequency is Metal,
Why?
because that's how the Ashland County tower system is. We are on the law enforcement tower. We don't own those towers,
And you have to use them
and I'm required to use them.
because of the frequency.
Yep.
What is
The police
your-
department dispatched without Ashland, that's why.
Yeah,
This is for Madeline Island.
What is your idea to fix?
well,
problem?
the fix for us is gonna be real easy. If you hadn't noticed, the Ashland and Mayfield County dispatch centers are looking to combine by the
Okay.
end of 2024. I just had this conversation with Tom, because Tom's like, well, is there a way to get money to get what our frequency on this tower? And frankly, you're looking at another $250,000 to do that. I believe.
Okay,
Here's the easy fix. We wait until next year, and if we can use, once we have a combined dispatch center, you see the towers on the hill over there in Bayfield? We're gonna be allowed to use those.
but you can't get permission to use them right now?
Because it's Bayfield County frequency. We're two different dispatch centers.
All right,
When they combine, it'll be all one dispatch center, but right now we're two different county, two different entity.
okay. That's all. That's my action.
Okay, so. Mike?
Done.
Yeah.
You said you want in bullet point number 3, that you'd like the storage shed out at the shooting range. What do you mean by storage shed?
Just a small storage shed, just a simple, 8x8 storage shed. We can put some of our targets that we've been hauling back and forth.
So not like a dock box that Marina has,
No, I'm talking like, something you can stand on. Just a small storage shed. I know it's a luxury, and that's why I put it in there. I didn't ask for it in the budget. It's one of those things that it would really help us out a lot, because right now, some of the stuff we've left out there, because people have come and shot up. And then we've had to buy over again. Or we started hauling it back down to the fire hall, using up any room we have there. And it's just, I know it's a luxury item. That's why I didn't ask for it in the budget, but that's why I kind of put it in here. It's like, if there's something you'd want.
I understand.
There you go.
Okay, on bullet point number 6, and the last one, you have about the grants that, and I'm just curious, does the federal grants for like the drive over get pulled? They don't do it
They don't do them anymore.
anymore? Okay. That was good.
Thanks, Mike.
And it's a quicker ticket grants have been going now for about 5 years.
Wow.
Sucks.
You said, Bill, that potential retirements from both you and Tom, are there any specific plans at this point?
I will be honest, I actually fill out the paperwork to see if I could go next July and I can't afford to do it yet, so. 2 to 3 years from me. And Tom is the question mark, and he always said that when I go, he's gonna be very close.
Okay.
So, and when it comes to that, I'm there right now. When I do make my decision, I would hope that you guys would post it, get somebody here to help me train them in for this place.
How long of notice do you think you'll be able to give the town as far as when you're planning to retire?
I'm hoping at least 6 months,
6 months.
at least 6 months. Right now, I'm right now tentatively July 2025. But as I look at the numbers, it might be July 2026.
Okay, well, we need to know because it will take a lot longer than 6 months to hire a replacement, get them trained.
Yeah.
So, okay, Sue, do you have another question?
I actually do. So when you're talking about that, you would hope that the town would support you training the person, I agree with that, but how much time do you foresee as you would need? Because if we're just getting a 6-month notice and then all of a sudden
I would hope it would take 3 to 4 months to hire somebody, and then probably about 2 months to sit with each other and kind of work things out, kind of similar with what, actually I had more time, I guess. So I guess it would be up to you. If you want more time, we can always work that out, you know. And I know that my 9 months with Mike was valuable.
Okay. Thank you.
Amy?
Want to go to the next page? I'm on the next page.
Sure, okay, yeah, go.
On the worksheet page, Bill, you know, there's a lot of amount of overtime.
Yeah.
In for 24, but how much overtime has been put in 23? I can't find it on here at all.
Okay, you know what, I've been working with Michael on this, because the way we've been doing, the way we had to do the 24-hour coverage and all that, it's very hard to explain. You have your regular time, you have your overtime, you have your overnight pay, then you have your overnight pay overtime. And it's a big pain in the butt to try to figure out.
Okay, forget that. Okay, it's hard to figure out. But in 2023, you have 520 hours each for you and Tom budgeted for overtime. In 2024, you have 676 hours for 3 people.
Yeah.
So that's a lot. That's
Well,
1,086.
It was budgeted, but when we lost an officer this spring, that budget got blown out of the water. And it ended up being a lot more than that. But you gotta understand that we've been working 24-hour shifts, so your 16 hours patrols at your regular rate. Those 8 hours overnight count towards hours worked. We're not being paid the same rate as a patrol rate, but they count as hours worked. So by the time you get to your 7th day patrol shift, you're already on overtime. Because of those hours work, even though you didn't put in 8 hours of work yet. It's kind of hard to explain, and we've been trying to do the shifts that if you took an officer's wage at 80 hours, and we've been trying to figure out how to do the shifts where we can just match that wage, and it's been darn near impossible.
It'd be nice to know, though, not counting when you're sleeping. You're gonna count sleeping as overtime.
We gotta,
Then it should be easy enough to figure out how many overtime hours the police department puts in for patrol.
yeah,
I mean, my point is that I'd like to go back to Ashen County and say, listen, here's what we're putting towards overtime hours, or have that information available when the time comes, preparing for battle.
so, yeah, I think I'm gonna defer to Michael on this.
I can work with Jamie to see if there's a way of pulling that out,
Well, there it is.
but no, there's not.
Yeah,
Not
well,
an easy way because of the fact that we have to compensate officers for their overnight time. And because anything over 86 hours is considered overtime. I don't know how easy it is, and I don't know how much it will tell us. To try to pull out how many overtime hours are. $25 for a shift and how many overtime hours are paid at overtime rate.
Well,
And so. You know, we've talked about this a couple of different times as a board when we reestablished. The scheduling so that we could guarantee that we're in compliance with federal wage and hour. And that's why it's as complicated as it is.
I think we can do it. I think we can figure out how much overtime they work.
But what I'm asking is, I can tell you how many overtime hours, but
That's all I want to know.
what I want to know, do you want to know at what rate they're being paid?
I don't care what rate they're being paid.
Okay.
I just want to know how many hours of overtime they put in.
Then we can
If-
figure that out relatively.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not in the worksheet.
yeah, I've been working with him and I'd be honest with you, when we sat down with our budget meeting, I told him, when it comes to this overnight stuff and the overtime hours, I'm totally lost.
Well,
It's a whole new concept. And I'm.
We can get you gross overtime.
yeah,
Now in the
As long
budget,
as you understand that not all those hours are being paid in time.
all right.
yeah,
So
the,
if you're talking about going to battle. Ashland County might ask that question.
Well, that's why I want the answer.
No, I mean, the different rates.
Wow. That'd be nice to have.
so in the budget for, let's say we've got the 676 hours of overtime for you and Carl and Tom. That includes sleep time,
Yeah,
overtime.
the sleep time, right, yeah.
Okay. But it also includes normal patrol time,
Correct.
overtime. Okay. And Michael, if I'm hearing you right, that is very hard to break out, which is which. The patrol.
Correct.
Okay,
And I hate to say it, but it's, we only started this. Was last September, August. It almost seems like we need a whole year of data to really accurately pull it out and. Be correct. I mean, we throw numbers out there that we think they're gonna be, but. Be accurate and correct, we almost need a whole year.
Okay.
I mean, the closest I can attempt to give you is. If you look at the compensation sheets. It's a rough breakdown. That, you know. For the full-time hours, 130 hours over, 130 overnight shifts, 130 overnight shifts, 104 overnight shifts.
mhm,
And then the working overtime hours. Are. Essentially when they're on patrol.
Oh, so that is broken.
So I can give you that kind of breakdown, but I can't tell you. Exactly what that's, how that is, how that cost is divided up. Because then if you go back to the. Law budget worksheet, page 1, you'll see that each officer has an overtime rate broken out.
mhm.
That's the average rate that they are paid overtime, but it's,
Okay,
again, those are just general guidelines as to how this.
how about you and I sit down after, not tonight, but maybe tomorrow or Monday and. You can work through that and I'll understand it and then maybe I can explain it to Mike.
Well, we're gonna need to explain it to somebody else at
Right,
some point.
Right,
So-
but I don't think we're gonna get
No,
clarity on it tonight at this point, so. Okay, Mike, did you have another question?
I got lots of questions.
Okay, anyone else have, or if you have a question,
Yeah.
Sue, go ahead.
So based on the overtime, and this is just from my experience in the past, which was not municipal, but corporate. Are we at the point where it would make more sense to just hire a fourth full-time person and not be spending overtime?
You gotta do a formula in your head now, or even on paper. You take your current wage times 80, and that's your base. Without the overtime, with the overnight hours. You don't do overtime, you're only gonna make 75% of that base. The overtime actually comes in, it makes the base. If that makes any sense, because we're on different rates at different times of the day.
Right,
And I have to have overtime to get that base wage. So if you have somebody on 80 hours, it's gonna make $2,000. And overtime with how we have to do it now with the different rate base, with the overtime to make it equal $2,000. I mean, if you reduce the overtime, you're gonna lose officers because they're not making their base. That's simple.
I hear you.
Well, that's essentially the approach I want to point out that last year we tried to minimize overtime by planning for 2 full-time officers and 2 part-time officers. Well, we lost our part-time crew, which got us into a serious overtime, real overtime
Mhm.
issue that was busting the budget and was burning these guys out. So we have a recruit in the academy. So this year we'll essentially do 3 full-time officers. And that's about as minimal as we can get as far as overtime hours. Because of the way the overnight is treated. As Bill said, if we were to bring in additional officers, what it essentially would do is cut the
Everyone.
hours and therefore the pay
Yeah.
of full-time officers, and that it's already a competitive challenge
Mhm.
to get people, and so that would make it even less competitive.
Thank you. That gives me a better understanding. I appreciate it.
Next thing, Mike.
So I got a question. When you figured this out in your worksheet, or Michael, whoever, I don't care who did it. So when you figured it out, did you count Ashland County as 2 days a week? Or did you count the town covering 7 days a week?
I believe town covering 7 days a week.
At this point, this budget that you have in front of you is 24/7 town coverage.
Nothing from the county. No coverage from the county.
Nothing but, sporadic backup or filling in gaps, that kind of thing.
Okay,
Believe me, we're gonna take a day off. And the school's not in session, we're gonna take a day.
I got another question.
Okay, well, I got one, which is related to Mike's question. And that is, we talked when we adopted the budget last year, that we were going to, this year, increase the levy such that it would pay for 24/7 coverage. Have we incorporated an increase in the levy into this budget?
We haven't gotten to the point of whether we need to increase the levy.
Well, yeah, okay. We're gonna need to increase the levy. I mean, obviously, right now, we're looking at $1 million shortfall in the budget. And so, yeah, and so I think maybe when we do the next round, we should put in that increment of what that extra coverage that, going to the 24/7, what that costs. And I think we need to look to have the voters approve that increase. I mean, that is what we talked about. It is what we warned everyone about last year. If we weren't going to be successful, that, we borrowed the money essentially this year to cover the 24/7, and that wasn't enough because we had all the overtime. So, okay, I think, Sue, did you have another question?
Good, thank you.
You're good. Okay, Mike, I think you've got the floor.
One more question. For under law vehicle, you have including ferry, and then you have for the ferry, you have $5,000. If you take into consideration if the town buys the ferry line, can we wipe that out?
I didn't know that would be a consideration.
If the town buys a ferry line, can we wipe that out, that $5,000? We're gonna own it. I mean, if we own it, what do we charge ourselves?
Yeah, no, I think that would be an
That'd be a
extra
saving.
department. Yeah,
No, that's a great question, and no, that was not, because I was under the impression we may not still pay for it, so I left it in there.
Yeah.
Prepare for the inevitable. If it doesn't happen, we got a bonus.
and it's-
I could expand on that. I mean, all the departments where there are ferry line charges, they are basically status quo. So hauling our stuff, we're expecting ferry line charges. Some parks people were expecting ferry line charges. That changes. Fine, we'll do that across the border as far as we can go, but everybody is status quo at this point.
Better buy the ferry line.
That would be the biggest statement, actually, it's a budget right there, actually.
Mike, anything else?
I do, but until he gets that other information. I can-
Okay, all right. And that was all I had. So thank you, Bill.
Thank you. Have a good night, guys.
Thanks, you too. Next up, ambulance.
I have a meeting. But I can come back to. I'm really sorry.
Maybe if you come back, that might be best. Thanks. Okay, next up is ambulance. Cindy. Again, I think everybody appreciated your write-up. And your budget is, as usual, very precise and easy to follow. So thank you. And so let's go to questions, and I guess let's go the other way around. Mike, do you have any questions on the?
On your second one, Cindy, you have staffing changes anticipated in the next cycle. You have Sarah wishes to be the next director. Do we know that for sure, a fact?
As of right now, it could change, like people change, like, but as of right now, she is still interested in being a director. And I'm starting to sort of train her slowly. And we're also then looking for the next person to be an assistant director. And that we haven't really discussed a lot yet, but we have some possibilities. We've got some good people on the group that I think would be really good at it.
Thanks, Cindy.
And I'd like to, we want enough crossover that when I make my decision to retire, it'll be a year in advance so that Sarah's kind of running with me, because when I got the directorship, we just kind of crossed the path. There was no crossover, and I didn't want to do that to anybody else. Very fair, so.
Thank you, Cindy. Sam?
I was just looking for where you're staying in New Rig in 2016. Do you have an idea how much? Like, this is Mercedes type, or is it gonna be?
Well, the new box engines, we buy a brand new one. Yeah, it's going to be $1,000. The reason being is that what I'm looking for in a newer ambulance is the new technology. And you can buy used ambulances all you want, if you're just gonna get the same equipment over and over again. So there's a lot of incorporated. A lot of it has to do with ergonomics, safety features in the back of the ambulance. Because ambulances are very dangerous places to be. And so I'm hoping if we can pull the funds together to go for a new grade. And there, I did have a quote, I do have a quote from council that is included in the capital. And that was just, you know, the first shot, it was just one person's quote of the top of his head kind of thing, to get a start from what I'm talking about.
I assume newer equipment comes with GPS.
Yes, also.
Amy?
I'm wondering about number 5, where you say we need to support the community, and I thought that the fundraiser showed that
Yes.
the community is all behind you.
Oh, yeah.
And then in the second line, it says something about, you know, we're getting too busy, but how would you expect us to stop people from coming here?
Oh, I think it's always a worry for the ambulance service and all services here. You know, you talk to Ben, the more and more people who want to have to keep coming, it just puts more and more stress on your service. We have the community service support. That's not a problem. I agree. The fundraiser should prove that. But we have 600 people in that. It's wonderful. I'm just saying that as the island grows, we have to continue to worry about being able to cover everything. And so, like special events, we've already taken, we're not doing any big special events. We make them hire paramedics from Ashland because we're worried about taking care of our town first. So that's really what I'm talking about.
Okay,
Sue?
As of right now, I don't have any questions. It's very well written, Cindy.
Cindy, in the ambulance fee revenues, we've broken down the fees based on the different kinds of calls.
Yes,
It also, I mean, it appears to me that you're assuming 100% collection on those. Is that at least what's in the budget is assuming that you'll collect 100% of those fees?
you're right, that's probably. And second,
You mean,
with student liability, I just don't know what the preference is going to be.
Sure.
So.
No, I
Fees in order to try to.
oh yeah, you're going from 11,000 estimated for this year to almost 60,000. So yeah, that's huge.
but that's total. 20,000, you put 20 for this year, last year, for this year, you put 20,000.
Right, but this was what the actual
Right,
was 11,000. Yeah,
Right.
we're going from the 20 to almost 60.
yeah, that was gonna be my question too.
Okay.
That's quite a jump.
Yeah, it is, I know, Scotty, but. Stick to their guns.
This is just clarification, really.
Revenue for us is always.
Yeah, you can't go out and like break people's legs, can you?
But once people leave, they just forget they have money.
Part of doing is we have added collection service.
We've never had before. And basically, they use the state's collection agency. So, and I thought that meant they'll only collect on Wisconsin residents,
Mm.
but they'll go after anybody all over. the country. So in the past, our billing companies have gone for 90 days and that's it, and then they don't collect. But now with this new company, after 90 days, they'll go to the state collection agency and turn it over to them. And they'll go after, well, what do they do your paycheck thing?
Garnish.
Garnish your paycheck, they can, yeah.
They'll be.
So I'm hoping it will help, not maybe 100%, but.
Thank you. Mike,
That was the same question I had.
did you have another question?
No, not really.
Yeah? Amy?
That was my list.
Sue? Okay,
I did have a
go
question.
ahead.
You had mentioned that, night people were gonna be purchasing their own, radios.
You mean for?
Sorry, for the ferry. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. On number 4.
Yes, I've been trying to sell, they keep asking for radios and more radios.
Yeah.
And we want them to have more and more people on overnight. But I was like, why can't they share radios? He said, well, I can put them to work. Nobody remembers to put them back and everybody wants them at home with them and so on and so forth. So I said, well, I can't afford $6,000 every time somebody wants a radio, and they lose track.
Mhm.
And I said, so we. I got him a quote, and he's claiming that the Fairland will start buying radios. So,
You're talking about for the time, because you have the capability in the ambulance to be on marine radio, right?
oh yeah, this is for captains who are doing night ambulance runs.
Right, when the boats are run, yeah.
They might carry their own radios,
Yeah.
and it doesn't really work to have them carry a pager. Because they've got to be able to answer us.
Right. I understand.
Now with e-dispatch, it makes it a little bit easier because it's on our phones, but most of them still want a radio.
Mhm.
So, right now I know we have 3 or 4 of them up there, and Kelly says he wants a couple more, and I was like, I just can't keep getting these radios, so.
Especially if they're losing them.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, it's all buying the fair line. I'll be buying all of it, but. I can't predict that.
Thank you. So this length of service award, the state share of that. They actually, I don't see that as coming in as revenue. Does that just, it doesn't show up as revenue, it just goes, it goes. So it doesn't even go through the town.
Correct.
Got it, okay. And then uniform upgrades, 65, basic uniform upgrades for service members, $65 times 12. What kind of uniform upgrade?
That's just buying people clean t-shirts.
Okay.
They
Got it.
Possibly get rid, they get.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Just, I was wondering how you upgrade a uniform for just.
Yeah, well, that's such an important.
All right, thank you. That was all that I had. Anyone else? No? Thank you, Cindy, very much. Next up, fire department. Hello, fire department.
Hello.
Welcome. Thank you for your narrative and for preparing your budget. Appreciate the effort you put into this. And I will turn it over to Sue. You have a question for fire department.
I do have a question on number 5, where it says if anything can change about a department, what would change? And then the answer is, same answer I give every year, better relationship training with all the emergency services and town crews. Everyone worries about their own thing, and there is sometimes very little consideration for the other team entities. If this is an ongoing thing, can you give me examples of things that you've done to try to change this, or
The fire department's guilty of it too. This, we do need to train together more. And just have right down to training with the town, communication. And I always have conditions, just better communication.
And so is that something that you're planning more of, is co-training? That would be like an answer to my question, that you're planning more co-training, more.
So we just did one, we just did EVOC together, guys, I don't know what else, and we want to do CPR again this year.
Okay.
We somehow got off of doing CPR together, just like a scheduling mishap somehow, I think it might have happened during COVID, I don't remember how.
Yeah, a
We
lot.
stopped doing it together, but we did.
Okay,
Now we're at alternate years, and so I think this year we're gonna try to all do it, so we did serve for CPR this year, so I think we're.
so that answers my question. So it sounds like that's something that might not be on next year's, because you've got plans to, okay, thank you.
Amy?
I didn't really have anything except the boat that you want isn't in here, right? The boat that you want isn't in that. Okay,
That's
in the next 3 years, next year, got it.
yeah. With the newly formed dive team, a big part of it, they really need some certain support. And there's been some probably generous offers of both. Thing is, we need to train with this, gotta be reliable.
Mhm.
The rescue teams are out there available for other towns, other counties, inland lakes, and that's. They're
Is there
available.
storage for a boat if you get one? Is there storage for a boat if you get one?
Good question. No. We gotta. Yeah, firewalls packed.
Right.
You can store it outside if you winterize it like that, we have plenty of door space, that's not that hard to winterize, especially like the kind of oil tank that's located. It's pretty, like winterizable, you just drain it and then grab it.
And generally it's happened quite a bit if there's we had a year where we had like 4 calls where we commandeered boats and Jay's boat, it just goes with. A lot of people have opted to boat, like take it, but that's kind of
One of the things that apparatus committee is really trying to work on right now, is like, what is our water response? We keep getting them. We don't have an SOP or SOP for water responses. So we just kind of do it really dynamically,
Mhm.
which creates problems in that, for one, we're having trained in that area or on that equipment. And it creates liability because people aren't trained on that equipment, we're not insured on that equipment. I mean, there is some types of coverage, like when you commandeer or something or whatever, but it's not ideal. The Coast Guard has rules about how close they can get when they respond, so they can only get within like 300 feet of shoreline. So a lot of our responses are within 300 feet of the shore. So it's something we're really working on as the apparatus committee to try to solve that problem. And I think what's like come up a lot is that, well, that we now have the dive rescue team, but what's come up a lot is just been like a simple jet ski would be like a cheap, safe, easy way for us to respond to these water emergencies. Because when people call 911, they expect that, you know, somebody's coming, and right now we don't have a standard procedure.
So what would bring the jet ski to the area?
So it would probably have to be trailered. You would have to trailer it to a place, and then I've been doing research on it for a couple of years now, and it's kind of what people are doing for some of these rescues. Like that's the type of watercraft people are using. It's what the Luth uses. It's just the most deployable. There's no prop, so it's safe and easy to operate near a victim, a person in the water. And then it can go in like all kinds of seas.
And what could pull the trailer? What of your?
Well, we have to use one of our, we have like several trucks that we respond with that have like trailerable stuff. So we have like the chief's truck, we have another brush truck that can trailer equipment like that. But we still haven't, you know, really pulled the trigger as apparatus committee about what, so we didn't put anything in the budget to propose because we just don't have anything yet. And it might be something we can fundraise for.
I've had a lot of conversations with the assistant chief of Duluth and on their boat, talking about the jet skis, and they have quite a program, but their nearshore rescue is a boat, which also sprays water, and one jet ski. And the jet ski goes automatically every call, and unless it's more than 10 miles out, then the boat goes. So that's a pretty good radius of 10 miles. They rely heavily on that jet ski. And they've rescued a lot of people with that jet ski, so that's.
Do you guys feel that La Pointe, Madeline Island should be responsible for the rest of the Apostle Island area when the other big eight, you know,
No,
counties say no? The counties don't give us, Bayfield County gave us what, $1,000 or something. Ashland County didn't give us a penny for ice rescue. I mean,
Technically,
why should La Pointe, you know, put on the ability to do all these rescues and recoveries?
so I think anything on the open lake, the Coast Guard does respond to pretty well.
They're federal, yeah.
You know, but we do get called to sometimes assist and some of that stuff, but. You know, we can always say we don't have a way to help.
Exactly.
But for a lot of them, you know, these canoers or people who have left the island and gotten themselves into stress on, you know, usually weather days, that we do get pretty frequently. And it's a worry of mine, and I think we need to have a better way of answering that call. And I think we can find a way to do it, hopefully without costing the town.
Okay, Sam? Nice.
I just, as long as you guys are here and we're all in one room together, have you ever thought of like in the winter, because everybody's busy in the summer, but in the winter time, you've got the facility to do a tabletop demonstration, like if a big propane tank exploded, then you do a tabletop demonstration. And somebody plays a part as the dispatcher, they might be in the other room. And then that's what we used to do for law enforcement. We used to go all the way down to Toma and do it. And you learn a lot. I mean, all of a sudden, everybody panics and what's my responsibility? Well, now's the time to learn what your responsibility is.
sure, we'll do that. See, that they move up and do that with the town crew and.
Yeah, you do it with everybody, you know, ambulance and police and fire, and you could do it in the wintertime in the building up there. Just a tabletop demonstration. You set it up like, you know, a propane tank explodes or something. You can make something up.
I think all the services would, you know, I think incident command, when you're joining a bunch of different services together, it's always the most difficult situation. Everybody, so many people and so many entities involved. And I think nobody can reverse that stuff enough.
And that's right.
And we are trying to do more and more of that.
And you know what's very nice about it is like Rick could play the part of the ambulance director and then he could learn what you have. And all of a sudden, that's how you learn. You learn what she has to do to get the ambulance ready to do what the ambulance has to do. And you play the part as the fire chief. And then you understand what they, you know, and all of a sudden they all mesh together and you understand, holy fuck, it's, you know.
Lastly, it would be great to like, if you can possibly get, I think the Coast, it'd be great to have somebody at the Coast Guard around one time to ask some questions about.
Well,
That's where a lot of questions come up and we just had an incident where a lot of questions were asked because of what was the Coast Guard purpose, what was their Why were they here? What were they going to do? And what does it mean? We don't do, or what do we, it was, that caused a lot of confusion. We don't understand enough about the Coast Guard.
But you could do this tabletop demonstration, between yourselves.
The thing is, the Coast Guard was confused on that call too. I
Right.
mean, it was the DNR's jurisdiction of that boat that ran into the ferry. But they weren't coming, and so that was a good case of who's the incident command, and it was put off to the Coast Guard.
Called passing.
I don't think you mind.
Their mission statement and command changes pretty. So.
Well, I'll tell you a couple stories from.
Okay,
Well placed call, and they would come train with us, so I know they would.
You said they would.
Oh, yes, they would, absolutely.
Good to know.
They said no.
any other questions for the fire department?
I guess I have one. So this successful benefit that you guys did, is that going to be biannual, annual, every 5 years?
I think Marty was saying it every couple of years, he didn't want to work it out, but he would try it again and maybe not alternating here.
Okay.
I agree, that'd be, boy, people aren't gonna shell out that much money.
No, I was just interested.
We haven't asked for any sort of fundraising since fire hall burned down because of the 600,000 we got.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, I was
There are
amazed by the
places
turnout
repeated
and when
something.
we count the money, wow.
Also, I think it was a really good idea to have one thing that we wanted from the fundraiser. It wasn't just a general fundraiser. The departments got together, what do we need? We need a repeater. And then the people had something they can touch and feel and.
Right.
Say they're giving money. I think that helps too.
It makes it more real.
Marty and I discussed that too, and, like, we can always come up with something that we all want.
Like a new ambulance.
And when-
2027.
A boat and ambulance.
Years ago, we fundraised for STBA and boy, I think we raised close to 90,000. I mean, you have to put it out there, but people are, they're willing to. We had a couple of big donations, people are willing to do it if you have the specific. Something that you prove is very a necessity.
Any other questions?
I would just point out, your bullet point number 4 on about Red being the acquisition officer. He's not gonna be around forever. And you guys should, I don't know what you're doing now, maybe you're doing it already, but you should plan, because once he leaves, that's a huge, he knows, there's a lot of knowledge up there. He's been around for a long
We
time.
should try to sneak that in every year because, and Red always tries to put it somewhere too, because,
Try to get it out of him.
yeah, I know for a fact he donates like $600 a year. That's a lot. It's gonna be hard.
And he's good at it. He was good at it 40 years ago, so I know he's good at it now.
Big part of it, replacing a whole fire hall in under 2 years. He was constantly ordering in and out. And he keeps great track of everything, but that's why I say we're gonna have to entice someone that's got some skills, period. I mean, it's not just something we can put it on one of the probationary members, like, here, this is gonna be what you're gonna do. But-
Thank you. Okay, any other questions? I have just one, and that's on the fire insurance, the 2%. That we didn't get apparently for 2023 because we didn't turn in the audit in time. But it looks like we're not showing anything for 2024 either. Is that
Well, we're gonna. Because of. Us failing that audit, and I'm not gonna blame it on anyone because it's all my fault, I'm the chief, but. Yeah, we will have that fixed by next year, but it's.
Is it a 2-year? Do you lose 2 years for that?
I'll tell you what, one thing that didn't happen is we didn't get our NIFRS reports yet. We're seriously far behind and. We had everything else in, so he's happy with everything else, but the NIFRS reporting system, that's the National Fire Incident Reporting System, was kind of important. And. The officer that did that was way behind and.
But that doesn't really answer Glenn's question. Are you gonna, in 24, you're gonna get something, aren't you?
Yeah, we'll automatically get another audit because we didn't pass this year, so.
So
Yes.
is that person caught up now?
What's that?
is that person caught up now?
Negative.
Can somebody help them?
Actually, it's gonna be a change of person reporting that.
Okay.
Good question. That's,
Michael, I think you know a lot about this. I mean, is it,
No, I think there is a lag period.
okay,
everyone at town hall is a big help with that.
sure. I'm just curious that
No, the direct answer is I think there's a lag period. I think we will not get 2024 funding because we did not turn in a 2023 budget.
but we also didn't get 2023 funding either.
So you get punished for 2 years?
So I'll make a call to Rick Summerfield that does this and actually find.
Yeah,
Because he'll tell us straight out if we're, what we need to do. And
Right.
what's gonna get us our 2% dues back.
yeah. I mean, it just looks like we're losing 2 years
Yeah.
worth of funding for a 1 year
Yeah.
mistake. Okay, so that's my question.
Yeah.
So if we can find that out, that'd be great. That's all I have. Anybody else?
Good.
No, thank you both very much. We really appreciate it. You too.
The rest of the budgets.
Well,
Thank you.
we got one for sure, and we'll see if we get, hello, Lauren. Welcome. Thank you for coming and for your narrative and for your budget proposal. And I will just, I guess, go Mike's way first now. Mike has any questions? Okay. How about Sam?
Are we on the front sheet?
We're anywhere you want,
Okay.
frankly.
I just had a question on the, what is it, employee insurance? And numbers, so, there's just like $20,000 less in that category, and I was curious why, so it was the only one that was large.
Yeah, because last year, we had originally presented the budget as though we would have two. Because we have two positions, two full-time positions, John are available to take advantage of that. So we wanted to present what the budget would look like in. So that eliminates that.
Somewhere.
I was just wondering, what are the current number of makerspace members? We have 20 people who are cash, which just means that they have gone through the process. Ready all of the equipment and are able to come in at any time unsupervised. And then we had an ongoing like demo. And try to use.
Oh, here it is. Got it.
I guess my question is, as it relates to the equipment and capital improvement plans for the next few years about the roof and the doors. Next 2 years, would one project be 24, one project be 2025?
It could potentially doors that we are needing to replace for the last 2 years and we've had a requested. The roof, I think will have to be a 24, we'll have to take priorities. I certainly don't want any damage to happen.
Yeah.
So. We have been searching real hard for grant dollars for those doors, because I feel like it's out there, we just haven't found it yet.
Okay, thank you.
Did you have any?
I found it. So on the last paragraph of the opening sheet, Lauren, you have that you're continuously looking for grant dollars and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
And that you're mostly funded by grant dollars, but you get a lot of donations too, don't you?
we do get a fair amount of donations, but they, in the last, I was actually pulled up on my phone, our designated ones, so I could accurately answer those questions. Last year, Our general fund. We received about $4,200.
Donations.
And that was just general, not specified for any specific designated fund. But you know, we do have other designated funds that people will often specifically donate for, like such as the C fund, which is you can donate and someone wants to make. And that one last year received 1,500.
Memorials.
So
Can I ask a question? No.
I would say though, on the whole, our grant dollars outnumber our donation dollars.
Does that-
I did, well, you wanna go around?
Yeah, anyone else have a question?
Nope. Outnumber them by 20%, 50%, 75%.
I think it's because our designated funds are only used for project-based programming, so it really depends. At least last year, we received such a large grant for the native space. I don't know that there is necessarily.
Okay,
Percentage,
that's fair.
I would say, I think it, you know, on a broad scale, it generally is more than the donation, the general donation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then Lauren, on the bottom of the worksheet page for the library capital projects,
Yeah.
and you have 32,000 budgeted for 24.
Correct.
So what is that for?
So the 24,000 is to replace the lower roofs.
Okay,
That's an estimate that we received on those, and then, the 8,000 was the estimate in installing 2 automatic opening doors on the parking lot side of the property. Okay.
that was it.
Question.
Go ahead.
The recreation coordinator you're looking for, do you think that'll be funded with grant dollars?
I think partially, because currently our winter rec program is solely funded by our dividend from our Duluth Superior Community Foundation. From our funds that we have there. So traditionally that pays for all of the winter programming. And then obviously we supplement with some of the programs. Fees, and then also the municipal regions that are supported for that. Ideally, I would like for it to be a hybrid, like it currently is, where a year-round position for rec can be supported.
But that's not in here, right?
Not currently, no, and that's why I haven't just been anticipating any staff changes. I'd really like to see that happen, not in 24, but I expect in 25 that our internal library staff might have some shifts, and I think at that time it might be a good thing to look at.
Okay. Thanks. Any other questions? For anyone? Thank you very much. I really appreciate all the work that you guys are doing over there. The Little Learners and the summer rec program and the winter rec program. It's all good for our young families and others. So thank you.
Yeah, you guys.
Well, we would have done the community clinic now, but I think we can move them to,
When would you like to invite them back? Just Wednesday?
yeah.
Just in case you hadn't noticed, the $24,000 has been the operational support. For this budget, I used it out of public works, the general government. Just seemed to be odd to me that public works would be having an operational budget assigned to them. Their real responsibility is simply to build. So if you want to move it back on these, like,
Interesting. I never knew that.
Well, yeah, that was my question.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. Any other final comments from anyone before we take public comment?
Well, we're not going to do general government tonight. It's not on the agenda, but you've been sitting over there.
I'm just here to learn.
Oh, okay.
And
I thought you were here waiting for something.
Well,
What are you
and,
crazy?
well, and also I think Lauren had a huge hand in generating these budgets. No? No, okay. It's all you, Michael.
And she has to teach me how to read workhorse, but.
Okay, all right. It's a community effort. Okay, is there any public comment?
Well, I do, I have a public comment. What I was talking about, the tabletop demonstration, that includes the entire town. That includes the town hall staff. That includes everybody that has anything to do with the town, except not us, but.
Well, one of the things we talked about in my performance review was that there are certain policies that badly need to be updated, and our emergency plan is in the top two.
Yeah, I wrote that emergency plan.
So I imagine that that is part of what you're talking about.
Mhm.
Interagency.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and I remember not that many years ago when they had all the departments with the active shooter training, remember that? That wasn't that long ago.
That was that was a while back. But anyway, my point is, that's not what I'm talking. My point is, it include everybody. That has to do with the town hall, command station, now's the time to learn,
Right, yeah.
In the winter time, or because everybody's busy in the summer, but in the winter time, they can take the day and do it.
Good point. Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
I'm moving the clinic to next
We're
Wednesday.
moving the clinic for next Wednesday,
Okay,
and
Molly.
yes, if you wouldn't mind, somebody should text Mel. No
Well,
harm.
Done.